Amongst an overwhelming amount of new pieces of exotic gear to sort through, the Hunter exotic boots, the Orpheus rigs, really caught my eye. I was lucky enough to get these boots from an exotic engram, and after using them for a short time, they have completely shifted my interest from the gunslinger back over to the Nightstalker. The potential of the Orpheus rigs is entirely up to you, which can be incredibly rewarding if used in the right environment. Before we look at a build, let's review the exotic perk on the rigs, and try to optimize the subclass for them. So these boots will definitely come with a legendary mod, but if for whatever reason you have a pair without a legendary mod, make that a priority. Always look for void mods, since this is definitely tuned for Nightstalkers. The exotic perk grants ability energy for each enemy tethered by shadow shot anchors. Pretty open statement, just saying provides ability energy. What does this actually mean? Well, for each enemy that gets snapped by your tether, it will give you a decent portion of your melee, grenade, and ability energy back, and even give you a chunk of your super energy back. My first impressions of this exotic were like a Nightstalker's Obsidian Mind, meaning that the more enemies you tethered would give you more super energy. Obsidian Mind, however, didn't give melee and grenade energy back though, so the Orpheus rigs are offering quite a lot. Thinking about this before we get into the wild, how would we like to spec our skill tree for this build? We would want to tether as many enemies as possible, and potentially kill them quickly to grant a ton of super energy back in a hurry. I was thinking that Quiver might be an interesting choice, but given its limited range, anchors, and duration, I was having far more success with the Way of the Trapper skill tree. Given that you are pretty much getting Black Hole, Bloodbound, and Predator from Destiny 1, it will mean your tether will last much longer, trap a lot more enemies, and thus grant you more ability and super cooldown. Other choices are pretty open, but I like using Gambler's Dodge and Spark Grenades with triple jump. The thing I was most curious about going in to use these boots for the first time was how much super energy do they actually give you back for tethering a pack of enemies, and surprisingly, a decent amount. Since all factions have similar spawning methods where they all drop in as a bundle, tethering a group of enemies is something you'll encounter very frequently, particularly against the Hive and the Taken. We'll do a pretty simple test to gauge how much super we get back. Here I'll use the rigs against a group of Taken. The tether snaps to 5 enemies, which you can see by the keen scout markers, and it gave me about 40% of my super back. 40% back before I even killed the enemies, which will add even more super energy on top of that. The fact that the tether has Bloodbound on means that any trash mob will be killed with ease, definitely not requiring a rocket. And the final result? About 65% of my super. This is honestly a top tier exotic for endgame PvE hunters. To be fair, it isn't all that useful against bosses or in the Crucible, but against groups of ads, groups you'll encounter all the time, the rigs are amazing. I was only messing around with them in the EDZ to get some footage, and there was several times I shot my tether, shot a rocket, and my super was already completely back and ready to use. Not just in patrols though, but in strikes, the nightfall, and potentially even in the raid, which is purely speculative at this stage because it hasn't launched yet. It's obviously going to come down to luck whether or not you get these boots, but if you do, chuck them on and give them a go. Even at this early stage of the game, I can see the rigs being a real keeper exotic. So what do you guys think? Do you rate the rigs as high as I do? Have you been lucky enough to get them? Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching guys, I'll try to get back to a more frequent uploading schedule. Catch you later.